If you've ever struggled to stay consistent on YouTube, well, you're not alone. A lot of people go through that, and it's actually one of the biggest challenges that creators face on the platform. And it's actually the most important factor to finding success on YouTube is staying consistent. So in today's episode, we're going to be giving you all of our tips and tricks and methods that you can start using to make sure you never miss another upload again. Welcome back to the Video Creator Show, everyone, where we talk about all things YouTube. My name is Augie Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Grant Ball. And to kick this thing off and talking about staying consistent on YouTube, Grant, why is it even important to be consistent on YouTube?
Well, the biggest thing, YouTube as a whole values consistency. So the more often you upload, the more chances your videos have to get seen, right? Now, I do think consistency means different things for different people. So if you're making videos that are easy to mass produce, so to speak, like top 10 facts about scorpions, and then your next video is top 10 facts about meerkats. These are videos that I think are easier to churn out. Like you can make one of those once a week. Whereas if you're doing something more personal, more creative, once a month might be a consistent upload schedule for you, depending on how complex your videos are. So I did want to make that important caveat that consistency is all relative.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's why when you go to decide on what type of content you're going to create for YouTube, you need to keep that in mind, because if you want to upload twice a week, then you're not going to go ahead and create, 60-minute, video essay types, because that's just not sustainable. But for me, I think the answer is that the algorithm loves it, right? The algorithm wants you to consistently put out videos. And like you said, it allows you to take more shots at the basket, right? You can more opportunities to have a video go viral or trigger the algorithm. And there's multiple touch points for you to touch your audience and to deliver value and build rapport. So it is important. But why do you think, Grant, why is staying consistent so challenging for creators?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the hardest thing about it for a lot of people is you have the idea of being a YouTuber and then the reality of it. The idea of running a YouTube channel and the day-to-day, the mundane aspects of it. And that can be challenging for a lot of people. It might seem like more work than they were expecting, or it just isn't as fun as they thought it would be. And that's probably the biggest thing, is just it takes time, it takes effort, and life is busy. We have a lot of things going on. It's easy to get distracted. So I think when it comes to consistency, it's more personal reasons that get in the way versus anything that is complicated about YouTube. Like I don't think people get tripped up as much in trying to please the algorithm as much as they do with getting tripped up in their own heads about like, oh, this isn't good enough, or I'm not going to make it anyway. It's usually a mental block that gets in the way of posting regularly.
Yeah. And so you can, take a look in the mirror and say, why am I not disciplined enough or motivated enough to get behind the camera and hit record? But I will say the caveat to this whole thing is like, it's not easy. It's not, creating YouTube videos is not easy. I mean, there's so many steps, right? You got the ideation process of coming up with the topic, then you got to script it, then you have to film it and get your lighting right and the audio right. And there's a lot of these little steps, and at any little step, you can kind of get caught up, right? You can kind of get messed up. All of a sudden your battery's not charged for your camera, or you spend, 90 minutes just trying to get your lighting set up and get it just right.
Yeah.
So I think, as creators that have created hundreds of videos like ourselves over the years, we've faced all those kind of challenges. And for me, kind of the most important part in being consistent is having like a repeatable process. Like you want some kind of streamlined flow that you can just say, Alexa, turn on my lights. Lights are good to go. The camera's plugged in at all times. And you just have a database of video topics that you can easily just grab. You have skills to help you pump out scripts on ChatGPT. And anyways, the whole video creation process, if you can streamline it, I think it'll help a lot. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I just the more you get caught up with lighting or anything, like if it takes you an hour to set up filming, you're going to be way less likely to actually do it, and then obviously it takes more time. But again, coming back to the mental block thing, I think you're right. The processes that we have in place, I think, help with mental blocks a lot. You know, the less resistance we feel to taking action, the less time it actually takes to take action. The more likely we are to actually do it.
Yep, exactly. So, okay, so that's kind of the why it's important to stay consistent and how a little bit, but let's go ahead and dive into some tips and tricks. Kind of already gave you one about the repeatable process, but let's like dive deeper into that. So tip number one, I would say it'd be like, you got to plan. You got to plan ahead, right? We want to plan ahead 2 weeks. We want to have videos that are already edited and published and sitting unlisted or private on YouTube, ready to publish, 2 weeks ahead. Like that's kind of my advice. And you can create a content calendar, right? You can look at the whole month and you can come up with your 8 topics that you want to release that month, and plug them onto the content calendar and then start, plan ahead, right? You create 2 scripts, create a couple of scripts, batch film them. Have you ever used the content calendar? And I'm curious at Treesicle, like how like organized were you with like content calendars and all that kind of stuff?
So our content calendar was just a schedule that we made up. We didn't even have like a Google Calendar or anything too official. It was just we knew we were posting every Thursday or every Friday. We changed our schedule a lot over the years, but we always knew a video on Friday on Treesicle and Bonsai Pop, a video on Thursday. Like it was just kind of we knew about it. So we didn't have organizational tools we were using in that sense. But it was in our heads, and I think our camaraderie was a big reason why we were able to stay consistent, because it's easier as a team. It just is.
Exactly, because the team creates accountability, right? When you got, 3 people working on a video, like that video is going to get done, like it should at least. When it's just you as a solo creator by yourself doing everything from A to Z, that's when the accountability starts to slip, the discipline starts to slip. And that's the danger of being your own boss. It's not easy to get yourself up at 7:30 a.m. and get on the computer when there's nobody telling you to do that, or to get behind the camera, because let's face it, I mean, getting behind the camera, it's a little bit stressful for some people. Have you ever felt stressed or anything when you got to film a video?
Oh yeah. One of the biggest anxiety points for me is right before I'm filming a video, because it does feel like, I'm about to be on. Like if I don't do a good job, then the video is going to be bad. It feels very pointed, whereas I think if you're writing a script or editing, you can just kind of be in your pajamas and working, and you're not worrying about how you're being perceived as much as when you're talking to a camera or into a microphone. Yeah, I would get really like worked up actually when I first started doing voiceover. Not even in front of a camera, but just in front of a microphone. I'd get super nervous, and it was draining, and it would take a long time. But it slowly, just through repetition, it became more natural. It used to take me like 6 hours to do 15 to 20-minute scripts for voiceover. And that included like editing the voiceover and everything, but still like 6 hours. And now it takes like maybe 2 hours total to do the editing and the actual talking. So yeah, you just get better at it. Things get faster through repetition.
Yeah, and I do think that when it comes to accountability and stuff, because like I said, everyone kind of fears, you have that stress, and that's what kind of pushes you away from actually recording. Oh, put it off till tomorrow. But the tools like Trello or Asana or like Google Calendar, right? These different software apps can help you create the accountability, and it's up to you to stick to it. You can map it out and of what you really want to happen, and then just stay accountable to that. You need some sort of structure, and all those tools that I mentioned are like project management apps and stuff like that. It's very helpful to get you producing these videos and stay consistent. And setting up a day where you can film, right? Like schedule it. Don't just say like, okay, yeah, I might film, for this week's video on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, and try to get it up by Friday. Like, no, like Mondays are your film days. Block out, 4 hours, 8 hours, who knows? Block out a long period of time, and hold yourself accountable to filming that entire time. Let's just say you say Mondays, I'm not doing anything but filming. You got 8-hour block right there. Batch record, film multiple videos, just stay behind the camera, right? You already got the lights on, you already got everything set up. So that part is already done. The work's been done ahead of time there. And now you need to film. So batch filming is something that I do recommend to a certain degree. How do you feel about batch filming? I don't think from what I know, you haven't done too much of that in your day. Am I right?
No, I've never really done batch filming. I think it can be a really good idea if your videos are relatively simple. I think if you're creating really complicated scripts and each video takes a long time, then sometimes it makes more sense to just do everything start to finish as like one iteration versus kind of assembly line, write a bunch of scripts, film a bunch of videos, edit a bunch of videos. I'd say the more simple your videos are, the more I think batch filming makes sense. Because I know with Baller Bootcamp, you said you would film it was like 40 videos at once or something insane.
Yeah, I am like a big advocate of batch filming, but I will say that the downsides is that the quality, if you film 5 videos, in 3 hours, the quality of, at least a couple of those videos is going to be kind of lower than if you were to spend, 3 hours mapping it out, doing a little bit more work and spending a little bit more time filming, so your quality could go down. And then also too, it's hard when you're trying to cover trending topics or news-worthy topics because, you filmed this thing 6 months ago, you filmed 100 videos and you're just dripping them out or whatever now, and you're missing the boat on kind of like the trending topics and stuff. So that's kind of the downside, but I do believe that their goal should always be to batch record, just because the grind of YouTube, if you're gonna have to film twice a week, every week to get 2 videos up, then that's when your consistency could falter. You could slip a little bit, which brings me to my next tip, and that's like to set realistic goals, like your upload schedule. Like so many clients of ours at VidShops will be like, I want to release 20 videos a month. And we'll be like, okay, yeah, well, that's going to be this much money for your editing and stuff. But why don't we just start with 4? Why don't we just go, affordable pricing? You're going to get it done. Like, how do you balance being ambitious and wanting to upload, every day, daily uploads to like a more realistic schedule? And what would you recommend?
Mm-hmm. Well, I recommend making your first video from start to finish. And then if you're happy with it, that is your template for all the other videos. And you can create a process after. So, invent your video. And then once it's there and you have a tangible video that you can create other videos with, with the process that you created, simply by taking action and not planning anything, you will make a video and then you can just mass produce that video if it's simple enough. So yeah, just start with making a video is really what it comes down to. And then from there, you can figure out how to make way more.
Yeah, that's great advice, because that was kind of talking about the process, right? You have the process from A to Z to get this video done and up. And then you can just follow that process, every Monday, every Wednesday, whatever, to get videos up. I think that's a good tip there. What would you prioritize? Would you prioritize quality or quantity on today's day and age on YouTube?
I think it really depends what you're doing. So if you have a really good camera presence and you're just talking to the camera, you can prioritize quantity over quality. And that doesn't mean your videos shouldn't be interesting. I guess what I'm saying is, when I hear the word quality, I usually think extra time in making a video, right? Like how complex is this? How fancy is the editing for it? How many times do you have to rewatch it and move things around? If an idea you're trying to get across is really complex and you like fancy editing, then I would focus on the quality. Or if you have a story to tell that is very emotional, and you need different scenes and different shots, and it's hard to quantify how long it's going to take, then just do quality over quantity. Whereas some videos, like, top 10 cat facts, you can focus on quantity over quality more, I think. They're more informational, more mass producible. You're not having to write a compelling story every time. You know, you can just do some research, create a script, it's done. So it just depends what world you're in. Are you in the business world or the art world? Art, I would say, you know, focus on quality. Business, focus on quantity.
Yep, I agree with that. And also, I would say that even if you are going for quality, like you still have to embrace imperfection in some ways because, hey, man, this is YouTube. This is not feature film quality stuff. Like there could even be like an editing mistake. There could even be a time where you stumble on your words, and it's not worth just scrapping the whole video and starting over from scratch because we've all done that. We've all scrapped videos that we thought, we thought our hair was messed up, or we thought that our voice was a little shaky or something, whatever it is. Like you just have to embrace that and don't be afraid to publish imperfection because, the goal is to continue this going and get to 500 uploads, get to 1,000 uploads. And, when 1,000 uploads, there's going to be some videos that just flop and that are, have mistakes in them. And that's okay. It's YouTube. It's not feature film. So, okay, that's kind of our tips and tricks segment. We gave you guys a little bit of advice about, systematizing to stay consistent, some accountability, stuff like that. Now let's go ahead and talk about just some of the common challenges that people face when trying to be consistent on YouTube. And the first one is running out of video ideas or video topics and coming up with them. That can be a blocker in staying consistent. So what's kind of your go-to method for coming up with video ideas?
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, it's what do I feel drawn to? Like, am I interested in this topic actually? So there's the personal side of things of what do I truly love, and then there's what is trending. And for me, video topics are always a balance between those two ideas. Now, for me, I like the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, I'll cover things that I really love. 20% of the time, I'll cover things that I like or I'm kind of interested in, but covering it is really good for the channel. Those 20% videos can act as organic advertising, essentially. People can watch those and then they end up spilling into it, watching the backlog of videos that maybe are a little more obscure, but ultimately all of that works together to create a very healthy YouTube channel. The 80-20 rule is my favorite way of coming up with ideas. There we go. I can talk.
Yeah, I like that idea right there. And about just kind of going with what you like and what you love, what's going to motivate you or inspire you to actually make the video. That's great because you'll draw an audience of people similar to yourself that like those kind of things too. And although that doesn't always get you the most views, it should get you views from people that you'd want viewing your video, right? Maybe these are your ideal customers or just really your ideal viewers that will stick around, hit subscribe, go to your backlog, like you said, and watch through a bunch of other videos. I will mention too that in coming up with topics and stuff like that nowadays is a lot easier than it used to be. You can do competitor research, right? Competitor analysis on other channels in your niche. You can look at the comments on other channels in your niche. What are people asking? What kind of common questions are coming up? Looking at other communities. What kind of common questions are coming up there? Those are all good ways. But also just using ChatGPT sometimes can help inspire you, come up with different topics. So don't let topics stop you from staying consistent because as long as you make a video, that's okay. It doesn't really matter what topic it is. I mean, topics are so important to growing your channel. I'm not going to say they aren't. They are. But you can't let that stop you from actually making the video. So let's talk about another challenge. And that's a lot of business owners face this challenge. And that's the lack of time that they have. So with everything going on in your life, with your business and life and family and whatever, how should people find time to create videos? Any tips on that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, make time. If you have to wake up earlier, stay up later, then that's what works for me. I don't know. I just find if I want to make a video, I end up doing it. And sometimes I kind of have to really push to do it. But it's really about making time, saying no to things. Like maybe someone invites you to something and you kind of want to go, but you'd rather make a video, just say you can't go. A lot of it comes down to time management, I think. oftentimes we say yes when we really want to say no. And in this case, I would say no to more things, and you will have more time to make videos. And if you can't do that, then make time. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, we all have 24 hours in the day. It's all the same for everybody. So it's like really what you prioritize, and maybe you're prioritizing the wrong things if you can't find time to get your videos recorded and stuff. But it's hard as a business owner. You might need to delegate other tasks, to other people in your company to free up some time. Because like I said, you do need to block out time to film and to plan and to do that. Otherwise, it won't happen. Okay, it just won't happen. So, okay, I think we've gone deep enough with all this stuff here. Let's summarize a little bit, and then I want to ask you one more important question. So, to stay consistent on YouTube, you need to plan ahead. You need to try to batch film as much as you can, set realistic goals and realistic publish schedules. Try to simplify your process and come up with a repeatable process to film. If you can create any kind of accountability, that's going to help you as well. And embrace imperfection, man. It's okay to publish videos that are not perfect. Now, the last question is, if you could give one piece of advice to the viewer watching this right now to stay consistent on YouTube, what would it be?
I would say just follow your heart. Like, don't forget to live your life. In what I mean by that is sometimes we're not living our life in a way that is aligned with what we really want to be doing, and that can block us from feeling inspired. So do more of those things that are important to you. Make time for those things that are important to you. Make a habit of saying no to things that you don't actually want to do, but maybe you feel obligated to do. The more often you do that, I find in my life, the more often I do that, the more inspired I feel to actually create videos and to create art or whatever you want to call it. So I find lifestyle has a big factor in consistency. And yeah, don't forget to live your life and feel things, feel your feelings. And that's going to help you be consistent because it's going to help you know what you truly want.
I like that answer a lot. And I will just add to that YouTube can be a grind. And the number one thing you want to do is take care of yourself and make sure that you are finding time for yourself and not getting sucked into, worrying so much about views and subscriber numbers and that kind of stuff, because all that kind of focus will lead to burnout. And that's what you're trying to avoid, burnout, so you can stay consistent. And hopefully you learned a thing or two in today's episode and got a little bit of insight on what it's like to be a content creator on YouTube. If you like today's video and you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe. If you're listening on an audio platform, you can follow us there as well. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.
Later.